What's up guys, it's Mike Thurston here. Today's video I'm going to try and tackle this notorious issue of trying to put on size and staying as shredded as possible. Now, this is probably one of the questions I get asked most on a day-to-day basis, and I'm just going to try and make it as clear as possible for you guys. Put simply, you have to decide whether you want to get bigger, if you want to put mass on, or whether you want to lose body fat. It's very, very hard for you to do both. The only people that can do this are, one, beginners, so people who have just stepped foot in the gym, who are obviously not going to be at a great starting point. They're going to put on muscle and they're going to lose body fat if they're doing it properly. Number two, the genetically gifted, okay? Not everyone can put on mass and lose body fat at the same time. And number three, people who are smashing steroids, okay? They are in a different league. They're not normal, they're not natural. Things will happen differently for them. Now, as this video is about bulking, you're going to be putting size on. The key is how can you put on size and keep body fat gain to an absolute minimum, okay? You are going to see some body fat gain. You're just going to have to deal with that. But the question is, how do we keep that, small? Because it's very possible for you to still have a decent amount of body fat percentage whilst you're gaining weight. You don't have to get fat, okay? There's so many negative attributes with becoming fatter, okay? Not only do you look worse, but you are more likely to be less sensitive to insulin, so the anabolic effects insulin has is going to be much less than if you were leaner. And you're going to be bloated, you're going to feel pretty crappy from over consuming on a daily basis. Okay, so what you want to do, and this is what I have kind of done, and I think it's what I did indirectly without even thinking about it. You want to go through phases of bulking and then cutting. I'm not saying you're going to bulk for 6 months, half of the year, and you're going to cut and be in a deficit for the other half of the year. That's not the way I go about it. I don't think that's a good way to approach the whole bulking and cutting thing. I just don't agree with it. So what I would say, and this is what I've done, and I tend to do, I will go through phases of maybe a month, possibly even 2 months, where I say to myself, right, let's put on some size. And it often happens in winter because obviously my top, I'm covered up, I'm not really showing my abs as much as I would do in summer. So during the winter months, I'll really focus on putting on size. So I put a month, 2 months aside where I look to add mass, and I do everything which is going to place my environment in the perfect situation for putting on muscle. What happens, and what I tend to do, is I will then, once body fat starts to creep up a little bit, and I'm like, right, I'll look at myself and I'm like, okay, body fat's getting a little bit too high. What I do is then I'll go through a mini cut, okay? So I'll look to reduce my body fat by, a reasonable amount within, it could be 2 weeks, 3 weeks, a 4-week period. Once I've dropped my body fat levels back down to, I'm not going to be shredded, but I'm going to be happier with them, then I can then look to begin the next phase of bulking, and I'll go through another month or 2 months of going through that phase of putting size on, and then the same thing happens again. I'll go through a mini cut, and then once I'm happy with my progression over a 4 to 6 month period, and say for example summer comes around, then I'll look to do a serious cut, and I'm talking about it could be 8 weeks or even a 12-week proper cut. And then once I've done that cut, then I'll look to slowly kind of gradually build myself to bulking up again. So it's not a definitive bulk phase, cut phase, that's it. It's cycles of, okay, bulk, okay, and then a little bit of cut, and then bulk, a little cut, and then overall, you should, if done properly, see a steady increase in lean muscle mass. So another way of reducing your body fat whilst you're in this bulking phase is obviously not to overconsume. That's what most people do. When they think that, right, okay, I'm in a bulking phase now, so what I have to do is eat as many calories as possible. No, you don't want to do that, okay? Think of an example of a builder, okay? One builder, he's building a house. He needs tools in order to build the house. So you provide the tools and he'll build the house, but you can only build it at a set pace, okay? You can't speed up his progress. So by giving him more tools, he's not going to be able to speed up the process of building the house. Those tools are just not going to be used, and they're just going to be left sitting around the house. So think of that as your body fat. If you drive more calories into your body, it's not going to speed up the process of muscle gain. Those extra calories are just going to sit around and get stored as body fat. So over-consuming it's obviously going to speed up the process of gaining fat. So what you want to do is when you're putting yourself in a calorie surplus, you just want to only slightly put yourself in a surplus. So it could be, obviously it depends on the individual, but it could be 200 calories to 300 calories to 400 calories. I don't know the exact number, okay? This is something which I will monitor with my clients and with myself by the amount of weight which I gain on a weekly or monthly basis, okay? Something else you can do is you can incorporate a little bit of cardio into, your training regime. Now, you have to be careful with it, because doing cardio is completely the opposite of resistance training, especially if you do the wrong type of cardio. So if you're doing lots of jogging, lots of aerobic activities such as kickboxing, swimming, things like that, it's not going to maximize how much muscle you can put on. You can still be in good shape, but it's not going to maximize muscle gains, okay? So if you're going to do cardio, do some, but keep it to a minimum. Don't overdo it, and be careful with the type of cardio you do. So I would advise short periods of doing very high intensity interval training, such as sprinting, using the prowler, doing intervals on the bike, but like really fucking hard intervals, not the 30 seconds on, 30 seconds off. Like actually doing 20 seconds of all out, oh my god, I'm gonna die, pushing yourself intervals. And battle ropes, things like that, okay? And then other types of cardio, the low intensity steady state cardio, which I'm quite a fan of. It's boring as hell, but it's effective, where you're walking at such a slow pace, the intensity is so low that it's really going to reduce the amount of negative effects it's going to have on your muscle mass, okay? So I would maybe do 30 minutes, 40 minutes, put the incline at 10 and walk with my heart rate around 120, 130 beats per minute, and the speed is going to be set by my heart rate, okay? So those things that, because a lot of people, when they are in the bulking phase, it's very easy for them to over-consume, even if they plan not to. So by doing little bits of cardio here and there, maybe twice, 3 times per week, it can help to bring your overall, maybe not necessarily daily, but overall on a weekly basis, it will bring the gap between surplus and maintenance down a little bit. So you still be in a calorie surplus, but it's that excessive surplus which you're trying to stay away from, which cardio can possibly bring down. And one final thing, you have to be consistent, okay? You have to be consistent with your training, and you have to be consistent with your nutrition. And when it comes to your nutrition, there is no perfect approach, okay? There's loads that have been tried and tested which have shown to work. It really comes down to the individual, and like I said, which one you are going to stick to in the long run. I would say that if you are going through a bulking phase, approaches such as intermittent fasting, maybe even carb cycling, going very low carb or doing a ketogenic diet isn't going to be ideal for maximizing muscle gains, okay? I would generally just stay away from them, okay? The only time I would ever go low carb is if it's a rest day, which is another potential approach. Ensure that on training days you're putting yourself in a surplus, so whether it's 5 to 6 times out of the week, you're in a calorie surplus, and then on a rest day or a day where you do core or cardio or whatever else it might be that's very, not very demanding on your body, drop the calories down and drop your carbs down. And I've found that works best for me. So I hope this has cleared things up for you a little bit. There's so many things I could go into greater detail about, but I just want to keep it plain and simple. Look at yourself in the mirror, decide, right, do I want to put on size or do I want to cut down a little bit? Stick to it. Don't try and juggle between fat loss strategies and muscle gain strategies. Just stick to which one you are going to go for, and then after a period of a month, maybe 2 months, watch how your body changes. If you start to put a little bit too much body fat on, go through a 2 to 3 to maybe even a 4-week mini cut, bring the body fat levels down, improve your body's potential for putting on muscle, and then go through a bulking phase again, and just cycle it and track your progress and be consistent, okay? Thanks a lot for watching. Hope this has helped. See you soon.